Well, welcome to another episode of Data Disruptors. I'm here with Nick Plassmann, who's the head of data IT at RWE Supply and Trading. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Toma. Very happy to be here.
Yeah, so Nick, you're joining from Germany, and you're at a company called RWE. So maybe you can give us a little bit of background about the company. What is RWE, and what is your role in the company?
Yeah, very happy to. Yeah, I mean RWE. It's a brand which is known probably within Germany, definitely, and within Europe. So actually, we are a company very much in the electricity market. We are a company being 125 years old. We just celebrated that quite nicely last year. And actually, we come by origin from a very classical power production area and industry, where we've been traditionally having had classical power plants burning all kind of fuels and turning that into power. However, the company and it's actually quite a substantial company. We are talking about roughly 20,000 employees. We have worldwide, and we've been going through a major transition over the past 5 years or so, 5 to 10 years, investing these days very heavily in renewable energy. And with that one, we're focusing very much in ramping up capacity in wind and solar, and that basically across the world. And with that one, our focus is much more still in power production, but much more on the renewable side, and we are just ramping down our capacity on the conventional power plants. So that is the business we are in. I'm as part of the entire group. There are different operational companies. I'm in one of the companies which is called RWE Supply and Trading. So we are basically looking after, we're the trading arm of the group, and with that one, we are looking into basically selling the power that is being produced in our renewable assets, but also still partly in conventional ones. We are also trading with other commodities in the energy sector, for example, emission certificates and so on. And I'm looking after a very interesting topic here in our company, and that topic is data IT. So what does that mean, actually? Data IT means we are looking very much after any data that we need in order to make decisions in our trading strategies.
Very cool. And I think I read somewhere that you're one of the largest producers of renewable energy in Europe these days. So very large company, as you mentioned, 20,000 employees, lots of trading, and so obviously a ton of data. What were you doing before this role? I'm just curious.
I mean, I'm in the industry. When I say industry, it means IT industry, but also data industry to some extent for now 27 years roughly. Been in different roles. I've been looking after what was called a data warehouse back then in a different company. Did a lot of IT consultancy. Now I'm since 13 years with our West. So which has been also a very interesting journey even within the company. I've had different roles in the company, always within IT. I mean, obviously something must be right about this company staying around for that long. Definitely, I feel like we are a very cool team. The entire company is a company being very pragmatic. Obviously, trading is in our DNA, hence fast decisions in order to in the end produce value. That is in our DNA, and that is being promoted across the company, and that is actually making the life so super interesting. I can truly say in the 13 years there hasn't been a minute which has been boring. always new topics, always new markets. There's always the focus on getting things done. So it is with data, and that's why I'm now in this role. Very fascinating. We've done quite a lot in this space, and happy to share more details on this topic.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the use cases. What are you doing with data? Who are the consumers of data? What are the use cases that you're actually implementing using all this data?
I mean, use cases, I touched upon it already to some degree. Yeah, I mean, we are a trading company. That means we want to extract value from the markets in which we operate. That means we need to have market insights, and that means we bring a lot of data into the company, giving us those market insights. I mean, probably the most obvious example, particularly when we talk about renewable energy, which I talked about earlier, is weather data, but there is only one example. There are many, many other examples which in the end give us some view on supply and demand in different areas. And basically our users, not solely, but to a large degree, our analysts, yeah, who then use our data to form a view on how would supply and demand develop in a certain market, bring different data aspects together, and there's a lot happening on our platform in this regard. So we have actually many thousands of data sets that we bring into the company, that we import every day, and our users are then the guys using the data, merging different data sets together in order to produce value from the data, and really get insights from those data onto markets. They then process it further, bring it into visualizations, into crisp analysis reports, and then those are being used by our traders again to take trading decisions.
Okay. And are there different teams that are using this kind of centralized platform, or how are you guys structured in terms of the organization?
Absolutely. I mean, we have actually quite a large group of users. Yeah, we were talking here about a user group somewhere in the range of 1,000 users. Some are, of course, more active, some are less active, but we can truly say that we have a large group of very active users, very much into the insights of our data platform, very much drilling down into the nitty-gritties of our data. And they're coming basically from the different markets, from the different commodities in which we operate. We are active in different markets across Europe, but also around the globe, in Asia and US. It is about power trading, and that is again then around short-term power trading, long-term power trading, about emissions, and a few other products in which we trade. And all those different markets and commodities need in the end data, not always the same data. So a lot of it is making sure from our end the right data is available, is onboarded, and is ultimately also accessible regardless of where it sits in the company.
And is your team responsible for bringing that data into the platform and then making it accessible, or are these different teams bringing in their own data as well?
Yeah. Within my team, there are different sub teams, but ultimately we cover the end-to-end stream. So we really bring in the data from mostly external sources. We make sure that the data can be seen. So we do have a catalog in which users can look up which data is available, and a few more details on the data. We do then have an access tool, which is Dremio, in our case, and which we use to allow users to efficiently access data, regardless of where it sits. We have one key data source, but we have a few also smaller data sources, and we try to bring it all together into one big access layer. And then we also have capabilities in our data platform around data wrangling. So really using the data in quite complex models sometimes, even down to machine learning capabilities. And then in the end, we also, in my team, we own also the visualization tool in order really to deliver an end-to-end solution to our users. Whenever they want to work with market data, we use that platform end-to-end.
And do they have like a self-service ability to, then access that data, create their own reports on top of it? Or are you also creating the reports for them, the visualizations, the machine learning models?
Well, we tried that actually in the past. That's a very, very good question, Thomas. As we've been trying to do a lot in the past on the IT side, and we learned that this is, whilst the team is very capable, the team has been constantly scaled up in the past, but basically we are outpaced by the demand that we see. And hence we really had to go down the route, and we truly believe in the route of self-service. We really don't want to be the bottleneck. We want to give more and more capabilities into the user's hands. That can be data onboarding, sometimes assisted by what we call embedded IT teams. So those teams sitting very, very close to the individual trading desks. But it can be around data access. The tool Dremio that we have in hand here. Definitely for many of our users, this is the tool where they directly access the data. They merge data sets together. This is what they do. In the past, we tried to provide them maybe with SQL queries. Sometimes we still assist in optimizing those, but we truly believe this should be in the user's hands. We've invested quite heavily, actually, also in making sure we improve data literacy within the organization in order to be able to do that. And that is particularly on the data processing side. But end-to-end self-service is really a key element of our data concept and our data strategy.
I see. So self-service was your way of matching supply and demand of data.
You could say so.
Basically.
Yes, absolutely.
And you're good at matching supply and demand. That's the whole business, isn't it?
That's where we slide our whole business strategy to our data strategy. That's
exactly. So, this sounds, what you're describing sounds like what some people call a data mesh. I don't know if you've heard that term, but basically kind of delegating some of the responsibilities around data management and governance out to the individual users and different teams, so that thing can scale more, right, without the central team having to understand every single data set and be responsible for its quality and its security and things like that. So are you kind of implementing some of those ideas or strategies?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel we have to. I mean, as I said, in the past, we using a bit more of a central approach where IT was doing a lot in terms of looking after certain use cases, and we found that this is limiting us, and we also found that particularly when we talk about data mesh, which for me is very much tied to giving more responsibility to different business areas in terms of owning the data, looking after the data, ensuring data quality. And we see ourselves more and more, and we are clearly in a transition period, more and more as the ones providing the tools, providing blueprints. So different business teams don't have to reinvent the wheel. At the same time, we also feel like the ownership should sit more and more in business. We have a huge initiative where we encourage our business users to be data owners, data stewards, because we feel they have the right knowledge. They have the in-depth understanding about the data content. We have the technical view. We can see which kind of data formats it is, how the data flows technically through the platform. But then the content itself, that is more with the users, and hence that is something we truly want to promote. And this is also something where we have a lot of focus on when it comes to self-service.
Mm-hmm. And you have to educate these folks, the folks in the business, on the technology and how to go about these things and the tools that they need to use.
Our users are clearly very smart users, so in that sense, you would assume they know everything. Well, they know almost everything. But of course, with more and more tools we are introducing, and when we started setting up a new data platform, which we did about 4 years back, we introduced quite a few new tools with new technologies, and we spent a lot of focus also in as I said, improving data literacy, and that means really we rolled out a lot of trainings. We developed an own training program for our users in order to make sure they really have an in-depth understanding of the different tools, starting from beginners, who haven't even seen such tools ever before, maybe haven't more technical use cases in the past, even down to advanced trainings where we've brought some fairly advanced users, which are almost on the same level than our technical IT teams, together to form learning groups to discuss use cases. We've set up a user community, which is quite in the DNA also of our approach, making sure we are not the bottleneck to basically form a platform where users can help users. That is quite key for us, and I think that works really well, where users drop questions and other users answer those questions, and we try to sneak in only whenever there are more advanced questions. We try to distill what are key questions that we've seen in the past and put them onto a wiki, so the questions are not asked over and over again. But we see ourselves also to some degree more as facilitators of that community, and of course drivers bringing in new technology, rather than that we see ourselves that we should answer every single user request and user question that comes up.
Okay, that's interesting. So a lot of work to kind of educate folks and create that collaboration between people.
Absolutely. I mean, we are blessed with a very active user community, with very active users also very keen in driving our entire data platform forward, bringing in new impulses in terms of new use cases, new technology they want to use. So it's a constant discussion, which is not a one way where we are helping users, but users clearly also help us to define the future of what we consider our data platform.
Hmm. And then on your team, what are the roles of the different folks to run this whole thing?
Yeah. So in my team, we have basically all the technical roles. Yeah. Primarily data engineers, cloud engineers. Our entire platform runs in the cloud. So this is a key element which we consider access criteria, because it gives us the scalability that we need on our end. But we do also have some in-house developed components. So we also have software engineers, we have database administrators. So basically everyone it takes in order to ultimately look end to end after our data pipelines. So these are all the technical folks. They are sitting in my team, but then we consciously, when we built the data platform, we also said, hang on, that's not enough. If we want to have true self-service, then we also need to look a bit wider. We need to, I think we've done quite a step forward in establishing a data culture also, really making sure that we have some key elements around how we want to use data. One key aspect, for example, is data sharing. We want to, wherever it's from a commercial perspective feasible, we want to make sure that data is shared across the company, because we believe there is value in data and that value should be accessible for everyone in the company. And that is something we very much live, but it doesn't go by itself. We felt and we discovered quite early in the process that in order to do that, in order to have a platform that is long-term sustainable, we also need governance as a key element in the entire setup. And so we established a data governance office, which is helping us to basically set the guardrails for our operations, making sure we have the right processes in place, we have the right control structures in place. So on the one hand, our users can do whatever they need to do, but on the other hand, we're trying to harmonize constantly what users do, and also we do monitor as much as needed that users go not completely off this, because in some areas we do have restrictions. We have some data which is licensed, for example, and we need to have an eye on those aspects. And that's where our data
Meaning, like, who
governance
uses
office.
that licensed data, making sure the right
I
number
mean,
of people are using it.
we
Or
buy data from data providers in the market, and we buy it for certain users. And hence, I mean, with 1,000 users, that doesn't then automatically mean that all our 1,000 users
Mhm.
have bought a license for the data. So we need to make sure that
Mhm.
whatever data is licensed, also those license restrictions are in place and are effective and are followed. And this is just one example where our data governance office played a role, but there are many other examples. They help us a lot in everything around building the community, keeping the community together, and so on and so forth. So governance is
Are there
really
other examples in, like,
key
security? I
element.
know that's a hot topic for many people. You talked about licensing as one example. Obviously, you want to make sure people aren't accessing data they shouldn't access or getting wrong results. Or are there other things kind of in that realm that the governance team is responsible for?
Absolutely. I mean, we're just at the moment in a process of introducing a data quality tool because we believe the true value of data is whenever data can be trusted. That means there need to be control in place in order to make sure that the data is there, can be trusted, and we can base our trading decisions on it. And in order to do that, data quality is key, and data quality needs standards. We need to make sure that we have across the company the right understanding of certain data quality labels. We need to make sure that we have got the right responsibilities and roles in play. We have to make sure that we follow certain standards when we talk about setting up data quality rules, and so on and so forth. And this is
Mhm.
just another example where
Yeah.
governance comes into play.
Yeah. And then you mentioned having a catalog. How do you get people to write the documentation in the catalog? I know that's always a challenge. You write the documentation, it becomes outdated as fast as you write it. So what do you do around that?
It is indeed. It is a challenge, and maybe for all the ones listening to this podcast here, I would be very keen to understand how others do it. I mean, we do a lot of campaign at the moment around making people understand, first of all, what is the value in owning data, being a data steward, making sure that data metadata for all our data sets is accurate. There's a lot of discussions that we've had, and we still have also with our management to promote those roles also. But it is a constant challenge to be honest, something where we've made some progress, where we want to make further progress, and something where we are constantly learning also how to do it right, and also where to start, where can we produce most value.
Yeah. No, clearly managing data is not just about the technologies and the platform. It's about the people and the processes and the education and sometimes just chasing people and making sure they're doing what you ask them to do and that kind of thing. And I see that across across every company and every industry. So that's not certainly not unusual. And I think in some ways that takes us kind of to the next uh, question I had for you, which is, maybe we can talk a little bit more about some of the challenges you have. Not specific to the technology necessarily, it could be that, but just any challenges that you're facing and trying to overcome these days.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a constant challenge. I mean, you can imagine there are 1,000 users. We have the full spectrum of users which are super technical. They are sometimes even ahead of us in certain aspects. Yeah, they've seen a certain feature, they've understood it, they want to drive it, they want to progress with it. On the other hand, you have less technical users who come from maybe from a slightly different world, maybe more Excel oriented in some cases. For them, it's a longer journey. And building a platform that serves all those different users is a constant challenge. Yeah? And then you also have those more demanding users. They want a platform which is very, very feature rich. You have other users who maybe need only certain elements. And for them, then it's maybe also more interesting to have an eye on, do we have a platform that is also lean enough, yeah, and cost effective enough? That can be also a challenge. And the amount of data that we have, making sure data can be found. We have as little as possible duplication is a challenge. We have the right data quality in all aspects is a challenge. So there are quite a few aspects in various areas, and constantly we are learning with the tools that we have in our tool stack. So technically, we're learning how to leverage cloud as a basis, the scalability that comes with this, all the opportunities that are there. It's quite a learning curve. I think in the past 4 years, where we've very intensively worked in building the data platform that we have today, we've come quite a long way along these various aspects. Also, the aspect of which competences do we need? Do we need in our technical team? Do we need in our governance team? Which competences do we also need to bring more into our user community? These are all questions that we constantly look into, and by now we've even set up a continuous forum that is actually sitting with our governance, where we bring our users together, even partly also users across all the different RWE opcos, and we form a bit of a data community where we discuss those questions and try to distill, find answers, and to try to make sure we can learn from each other. But it is a constant learning process. And maybe to all the listeners here in the podcast, I would be very, very keen also to get in contact if you're on a similar journey. I think it would be great to share experiences, because we feel like, even though we've learned a lot, I feel like we are definitely quite advanced compared to where we've been 4 years back.
You built a modern platform, right? Built on, like, the data's all in the data lake. I think it's all open standards, right? Is that what your platform looks like? Is it all in one place now? All the data?
Yeah, it's pretty much. I mean, we do have largely we have a handful of key technical data sources, but then we ultimately bring it all into one data lake. We have then Dremio as the tool sitting on top, being the data access layer, where basically all the users can go into, and regardless where the data actually sits, they can access it. We do have a bit of a tool which allows them to control privileges and make sure that access is being effectively handled. We do have the data wrangling, we have the data catalog, and we have the visualization. So these are the key components from a technical perspective. But really, I think the data lake in the cloud is ultimately sort of the foundation of all of it. And that is something we've built in the past. So we come from a more classical, let's say, database approach, where we have been having a database in which the vast majority of all data was, and then there were quite a few scattered smaller databases within the company. But then it basically was lacking the glue. How we bring the different data pots together and make it look like one, and make it accessible for everyone. That was a bit one of the key challenges, and data sharing. Whenever our users were working with the data, were producing results, reports, some advanced insights into data, how could we share it? And that is something where we've now the data lake. Users can feed it back into the data lake and share it across. So this is a bit the concept which we've been developing over the past 4 years. A long, very intensive journey. But we are very proud in our team what we've been building, and at the same time, we started with the ambition that we want to lead in the data space, at least within our community, and we understand more and more that this is a constant journey we are on, because we want to continue to lead, and hence we want to really also look into most modern approaches. Machine learning is a topic. How can we bring in advanced models around helping our less technical users to make use of more advanced technology? AI is maybe a keyword here, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, we see ourselves as being on a journey, and I would see ourselves being right in the middle of it. And it's a very, very exciting journey. I'm very happy to work with the technical folks, but also with the governance folks, with our users together on the continuation of that journey.
Well, Nick, this has been extremely insightful conversation, starting from renewable energy and ending in data governance and all the challenges around data literacy and how to make data work at scale, right? With 1,000 users that are really living in data, and that's a big deal. It's a lot of work. So thank you so much for being here and sharing all your experience and insights with all our listeners.
Absolutely, my pleasure, Thomas. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.